UFC Kansas City is here. This is the one bet show. I'm giving a bet for every single fight on this card, but not just this card. Every single fight on every single card for the rest of 2025 and beyond. I was at UFC Miami last week. It was a phenomenal card, and that was the first week we did this style of show where we're giving out a bet every single fight, and we absolutely crushed it. I think there was, 13 fights on the card. We probably hit 7, 8, or 9 bets that I gave out on the show. It was a success. It was my biggest video to date, and we're going to keep growing this channel, keep growing these videos, and do this shit every single week. But I got to touch on first, man, down in Miami, when I was flying home, I was just thinking about the UFC event that I was just at, thinking about the sport in general and where I'm at right now with making content, what I want to do in the future. And it just got to thinking, man, the UFC and fighting and every single Saturday, most Saturdays, 43 weeks a year, we all get to just kick back, relax, and forget about everything going on in our lives for 6, 7 hours, watch fights, watch two people beat the shit out of each other, and it just makes everything else in the real world kind of disappear for that day. I know that's how I feel about it. I know a lot of you feel that way as well, and it's just a beautiful thing, man. The sport is so much more than fighting. It's so much more than titles and everything like that. It's an escape for a lot of people, whether you're fans, fighters yourselves, trying to make it to the big show, all of that. So I'm extremely appreciative. I love this sport. I love that I'm able to do this. I get to go to different events. Miami last week, Kansas City this coming week. Truly blessed. And it's all because of you guys who watch my content, watch the streams, watch the YouTubes. So I appreciate you guys greatly. Now, this card, I'm super pumped for. Carlos Prates, Garry. I mean, that's a phenomenal main event. I like this main event more than Jamal Hill and Khalil Roundtree. So I'm super pumped for it. I got these bets down. We're going to talk about them. I'm going to give one every single fight. And you know, if you want to get every bet that I'm personally hammering, all my premium plays, you can do so. All you got to do is go to winnable.com/homeoffightpicks, abbreviated HOF picks, and use code Kansas, and you're going to get a 5-day free trial. See all of my bets, see all of Hey Jive Picks bets completely free. Combined, we're up 50 units on the year, absolutely crushing it. So yeah, go do that if you want to get all my premium plays. And shout out to the sponsor of the show, BetUS. It's a sports book that you can use in 49 of the 50 states. And if you use the code I'm going to drop in the description, you're going to get your first deposit matched up to 150% and your next two at 125%. So if you're looking for a sports book that you can use basically anywhere in the U.S., BetUS has you covered. The sponsor of the show, the link is going to be in the bio along with that promo code. So without any further ado, let's get into it, man. The first fight on the card is not the most exciting. You know, usually the UFC will kick off a card with one of their best fights on it on the prelims. But this one, man, we're getting Jocelyn Edwards, Chelsea Chandler. I mean, right off the bat, if you're going to parlay something, maybe you parlay this fight to go the distance, but it's so juiced that it just, you know, it makes me nervous. I don't like playing over 2.5s at minus 450 because at the end of the day, it's a street fight, not a street fight, a cage fight. These girls aren't really known finishers, but Jocelyn Edwards coming off of a submission win. Chelsea Chandler can get kind of wild and brawly, and she has been hit, she has been hurt, has been dropped. And, you know, on the ground, she's good on top, but not the best on the bottom. So I'm not real comfortable playing an over here. I do think the fight should go the distance. I mean, probably 8 or 9 times out of 10, it's going to go the distance. So I think you look at a Jocelyn Edwards decision play, see what odds you can get on that. I mean, she's minus 295 right now in the money line. So if you can do any better, just take one of these girls by decision. It's your best bet unless you're looking for a long shot prop. And then I don't really know what to tell you because I'm not too invested in this fight, and I don't think you should be either. But for the play I'm going to give out, let's go Jocelyn Edwards by decision. I think her striking is more technical. I think the kicks are going to be a problem for Chandler. Chandler's shown, you know, she's kind of susceptible to the kicks. Like when she fought Viana Santos had a field day kicking the legs, the thigh, the body, and even kicked her in the face a couple of times. And I think Jocelyn Edwards' striking is improving. I think her takedown defense is going to be sturdy enough to keep this fight on the feet and cruise to a decision victory. So, yeah, let's go Jocelyn Edwards by decision for the first fight on the card. Now, second fight, I'm surprised this isn't the first fight because this is way more exciting. Timmy Cuamba, Roberto Romero, two guys who are winless in the UFC, but two guys who are extremely, I'll say, talented and a lot of fun to watch too. Bring a lot of energy. Timmy Cuamba's had a tough go of it in the UFC. I mean, he's got to make his debut against Blackshear, and he went to a split decision with him. I thought Blackshear won that fight pretty easily. I was surprised to hear a split. But, at the end of the day, what Timmy Cuamba's shown is that he can hit timely takedowns. His striking on the feet is very technical. I just think he gets a little bit gun shy. And not that he's scared to get hit or anything, but, I do think when guys are standing in front of him and backing him up, he kind of freezes at times. He gets a little, has a little bit of self-doubt to let his hands go, and it's kind of hurt him. I hurt him against Blackshear because Oki just marched forward and hit him with bigger shots and more shots. And then against Lucas Almeida, he gets dropped in the first round pretty badly. They recorded one knockdown. I saw a couple. I thought Lucas Almeida cracked him and dropped him twice at least in that first round. But at the end of the day, man, Lucas Almeida was fighting downhill going forward, and that's where he beat Timmy Cuamba. Cuamba had some timely takedowns in the middle towards the end of the fight, but it was Lucas Almeida doing the damage, outlanding him by a lot. But for Roberto Romero, this guy is the definition of fighting downhill. He's wiry. He's bouncing in and out the whole time. He's coming forward, swinging bombs. And against David Onama, that's a tough debut to make on just 9 or 10 days notice like he did. And he came out there and he dropped Onama in the first round, had a rear naked choke locked in. He just couldn't get his hooks in and kind of got stuck against the cage to where Onama could roll out of it. But, man, he showed that he's good on the feet, and he's he can fight technical, but, when he wants to get aggressive, this guy will swing. He's got a chin on him. David Onama hits hard. He got dropped by him, but he was able to survive. And, he's shown a little bit of grappling, too, when it gets to the ground. So, if Timmy Cuamba is in a little bit of trouble on the feet and wants to go to the wrestling, I think Roberto Romero is good enough on the ground to either work his way back up to his feet or look for submissions. And I think on the feet, yeah, Cuamba's got a good one, too, and he's got a really fast high kick. But I think Romero is going to be the one fighting forward. I think he's going to throw more volume. I think he hits harder, and we've seen Cuamba dropped against Lucas Almeida. If Roberto Romero connects like he did against Onama, Cuamba could be in trouble here. I think Roberto Romero is probably not as good in the cardio department, but I think he's going to do more damage through the first couple of rounds if he doesn't finish him. So, you're giving me right at even money on Roberto Romero. I think that's a decent price. I can see him starting to swing towards the favorite, plus 110. Plus 105, plus 100. That's kind of where he's bouncing right now as I'm recording this. So, yeah, man, I'm going to go Roberto Romero money line. That's the second play of the night. All right, next fight up. Let's see. Let me get it back loaded up. Jacqueline Amorim taking on Viana. Man, I used to like Viana because she'd pull off submissions on the ground. She's shown that she's pretty well versed there. But on the feet, she just kind of became a savage at one point and was finding big shots. She can get knockouts. She does have power for sure. We saw her knock out Jinyu Frey really early in the first round. We've seen her pull off a handful of submissions in the UFC. But she kind of came in as this grappler. And that was the extent of her game. She submits Maya Stevenson and then goes on a 3-fight losing streak, fighting decent fighters. Good fighters she was losing to, but then came in, submits Emily Whitmire, Mallory Martin, kind of the lower tier girls, knocks out Jinyu Frey, and then now she's gotten beat by Yasmin Lucinda, who subbed her. Jillian Robertson found the TKO after having her in some really bad positions on the ground, which is not what I like to see coming in against Jacqueline Amorim. Can Viana weather the storm and maybe find a TKO herself later in the fight? Yeah, it's possible. I just don't really think she's going to be able to keep Amorim off of her. Everybody talks about how bad Amorim's cardio is because of that fight with Sam Hughes in her debut. But again, it's her debut. She comes in. Sam Hughes is a cardio machine who throws a ton of volume. Jacqueline had that submission locked in, just couldn't quite finish it, kind of burned herself out, and then she gassed. Outside of that, man, she fought Montserrat Rendon, who's not, a great fighter or whatever, and she didn't gas out, or Montserrat Ruiz, sorry. She didn't gas out there, but, she was in dominant position the whole fight, landed a takedown or two, tons of submission attempts until she just punched her out. So I don't think her cardio is going to be as bad as people think. And I don't think Viana's cardio is phenomenal to the point where she's going to overwhelm her later in the fight. I expect Amorim to come out here and look for takedowns. Not only look for takedowns, but land them. I think that's one part of her game that's probably been improving. Like, yes, she's got the accolades on the ground. She's phenomenal with the jiu-jitsu, but getting the fight there is something she's got to be working on if she wants to take that next leap in the UFC. I think that's what she's been doing based off where she's training, who she's training with, and her striking's shown that, it's coming along as well. So you put all that together against a girl on a 2-fight losing streak, I think she's going to win this one. She's minus 800 on the money line, so you can't really play that. The under is minus 260. You can't really play that, but I think you look at an Amorim submission. I mean, Lucinda was able to get it. Jillian Robertson had it right there in her hand. She decided to just keep punching. I think Amorim goes with the safe play, but just to be safe, we'll take Jacqueline Amorim inside the distance. So Amorim to win by submission or TKO. That'll be my play for the third fight of the card. All right, I'm super excited for this next fight. We are getting Malcolm Wellmaker, Cameron Saaiman. This is a super, super good fight and a super tough debut for Wellmaker, considering, this is his debut, and he's fighting a guy in Saaiman who's kind of battle-tested in the UFC. He's got 5 fights so far in the organization, but he's on a 2-fight losing skid. The guys he's beat, Steven Kozlow, Mano Martinez, Terrence Mitchell, not the highest level of competition, boys. Not really super impressive. I mean, he TKO'd Steven Kozlow, but Kozlow kind of gave him some fits in the grappling department early in that fight. Majority decision against Mano Martinez. And Terrence Mitchell had no business ever being in the UFC. I will say, the one part you got to worry about with Cameron Saaiman is that this guy's got a couple of points taken in his short UFC career. I mean, against Kozlow, he gets the point taken for the knee to the head when Kozlow is clearly down. I believe there's something with Mano Martinez. It's just, you never can be too comfortable taking him by decision when he is getting points taken and kind of makes these low IQ fouls at times. Then he fights C-Rod, loses that fight. It wasn't really that close. C-Rod kind of did whatever he wanted to. And then Peyton Talbot absolutely beat the brakes off of him in his last fight, and that was a year ago. And Malcolm Wellmaker reminds me a lot of Peyton Talbot. The striking style is different, but it's similar to the fact that he's a good counter striker. When he's fighting downhill, he's going to hit you at every single level. He's going to chop the legs, body kicks. He's got a hell of a right hand, good jab. His striking is very, very polished. He's a very strong physical guy for this division. I think he's going to be hard to take down. And Cameron Saaiman, yes, he is very talented on the feet. His kicks are very good. He chops the legs very well too. But he's hittable, and we've seen that. I mean, gets hurt by Peyton Talbot. C-Rod had his way on the feet. Even guys like Steven Kozlow cut him open pretty bad with a knee or an elbow. I can't remember. Mano Martinez landed 60 significant strikes. I just got to think that Malcolm Wellmaker at some point is going to find a big shot and hurt him. And if he does hurt him, I think it's going to steal momentum. I think it's going to be enough to win rounds. Malcolm Wellmaker looks to be in phenomenal shape. He's already a very composed, laid-back fighter, so I don't think the debut, the crowd, the big, the stage and the lights are going to be something that completely drains him because he doesn't fight at a super high pace. He's very patient. And I think that'll play into his hand. He's going to find big shots. I'm taking Malcolm Wellmaker on the money line for the 4th play of the night. I'm excited to see this. I think he is the goods. I think he's got a promising future in the UFC, and it'd be massive to get a win over Cameron Saaiman in the debut. All right, next fight, Damon Blackshear, Alatengheili. Man, Alatengheili is can be tricky to deal with just because he is a good wrestler. He's got a good overhand right. He's very strong. He's proven to be pretty durable. But I look at who he's fighting, and, Clayton Rodriguez has no takedown defense and cannot get off of his back. And Alatengheili just had to take him down 3 times, and that was the fight. He wins by decision. Chris Gutierrez absolutely beat the brakes off of Alatengheili on the feet, outstruck him 110-38. And then he wins over Chad and Hellinger, who's just not very big, not very physical. Kevin Kroom, not UFC level, loses to draw against Gustavo Lopez. Casey Kinney beats him. He doesn't have the greatest resume in the UFC for having this many fights in the organization. He's taken some, lackluster losses. His wins aren't super impressive outside of Kevin Kroom. So, watching him or looking at this fight against Damon Blackshear, what's his path to victory? Is he going to wrestle him? I mean, if he wrestles him, he's going to be in trouble of getting submitted the entire time, whether it's by guillotine, whether it's him making one mistake and Damon taking the back, triangles, arm bars, all that kind of stuff. Blackshear is super, super versatile and very dangerous in all positions on the ground. So, that's danger for Alatengheili. Is he going to keep it on the feet and throw 30 significant strikes the whole fight and expect to win? Probably not. I mean, Blackshear, his Muay Thai is actually really good, and it's getting better. It's what he's training, and he's working on it. And, we saw it against Cody Stamann. He hurts him badly, basically has him out on the feet and then jumps on the sub when he gets to the ground. You saw it against Cody Gibson. He got touched up a little bit from the volume and just kind of bull rushed, but eventually he broke him down, got him down, and found the Kimura. So I just think wherever this fight is at any point, there's going to be danger of a finish. Alatengheili does have power in the right hand. Blackshear has questions on his chin. Blackshear has power with the knees. He'll throw flying knees. His Muay Thai is good. He'll chop the legs. And the moment you're in trouble on the feet and you shoot in on him, you're immediately in danger of getting submitted. So what I like on this fight is ends inside the distance, which is like right at even money. You could take the under 2.5 at like plus 125 on BetUS, but man, I could see a world where Alatengheili hangs in there and it's like an exhaustion thing where Damon just finally submits him at the end. So, I'll pay a little bit of juice, 25 cents of juice to take this fight to end inside the distance rather than under 2.5. I've actually got bets on both as we speak right now, but I like that inside the distance a little bit more. I played it bigger than the under 2.5. So kind of a ladder play there. We'll see what happens. But yeah, ends inside the distance is the official play for this show. And I think it could be a good one. Getting even money. Blackshear, 5 of his last 6 fights have ended inside the distance. He's starting to heat up again. Come out here with a big performance in Kansas City. He climbs the ranks once again. Let's lock it in. I think it hits. All right, next fight, Chris Gutierrez, John Castaneda. This fight has been scheduled what seems like a million times. Castaneda, I believe, pulled out of their last fight a couple of weeks ago, and now they're back scheduled once again. Now, Castaneda is a good all-around fighter, but he doesn't do anything phenomenal. His striking's good, doesn't have the most power in the hands. His wrestling is okay. He lands takedowns at 35%. His takedown defense is good on the ground. He's not going to blow you away with his jiu-jitsu or anything, but he's solid, decent control, all that stuff. But the one, red flag, whatever you want to call it, I got on John Castaneda is a striking defense, man. He gets hit with 5.22 significant strikes per minute, which isn't good when you're going up against the Chris Gutierrez, who's a very, very solid striker, who lands significant strikes at a 60% accuracy, lands 4.72 per minute. That's very good. His volume is good. 71% takedown defense, so it's going to be hard for Castaneda to get him down and hold him down. The striking defense is super, super good for Chris Gutierrez. Only gets hit with 64% significant strikes at 2.64 per minute. And, you look at the guys that are beating him, it's Song Yadong, Pedro Muniz, Cody Durden, well, that was a draw, and Raoni Barcelos in his debut in 2018. Do you think John Castaneda is on the level of Song Yadong or Pedro Muniz? Maybe he could beat Pedro at this point because Pedro is almost 40, but I don't really see it. And even in those 2 losses, he outstruck Song Yadong 87-77, and Song had to mix in 2 takedowns, to win a couple of rounds there. Pedro Muniz, he lost that fight, but he outstruck Pedro 77-60. I just don't think that Castaneda has the power of Song Yadong or a Pedro Muniz to where he's going to be able to really steal big moments in this fight, but I do think he's going to get his leg chopped off. I think Chris Gutierrez can jab him to death and really make it frustrating. And we've seen John Castaneda slow down in fights before to the point where, his opponents find finishes. They can knock him out, finish him by TKO, that kind of thing. I think Chris Gutierrez will work the body with the kicks as well. He's a very intelligent striker. Yeah, man, all those reasons. I'm going Chris Gutierrez. That's going to be the play. I'm going to look what his price is right now. Man, I wish that fight would have happened a few weeks ago and I would have been on him because – he was like plus 110, plus 120. Now he's sitting at minus 140. I understand why. I think people are coming to their senses. They know that, Gutierrez just pulled out, Castaneda just pulled out a few weeks ago. Maybe there's some lingering injuries, illnesses, whatever the case may be. He's got to cut weight again. A little bit tougher weight cut for him too. So, yeah, Chris Gutierrez, minus 140. That's the play for this fight. I think he should be able to come out here and just outstrike him and keep it on the feet. And if he does that, he should win the fight. All right, now, Evan Elder, Gage Young. Man, Evan Elder had the fight against Hassan Zada, and he gets arrested a week before the fight for some real creepy ass shit. You know, honestly, screw that dude. Wish he would have got into the UFC so I could see Evan Elder just beat his ass for that. But obviously, he's not going to get into the UFC. The UFC probably wants nothing to do with him ever unless he got, found guilty for whatever he got arrested for, which I don't see the case being. So, Evan Elder gets Gage Young. Gage Young's a guy who lost on the Contender Series but had a pretty good showing of himself. He's also a guy who, on the feet is pretty good, just a little green. He, fought Keelan Salkild, and Salkild landed a lot of strikes on him, mixed in a ton of takedowns. And that was kind of the fault for Gage Young. Gage Young is a tough guy who, has potential in the sport. He just, he's 9-2. He's not, I don't know. He's just not great anywhere yet, at least. He's athletic. He's tough. He's starting to put it together a little bit and getting better. But, a guy like Evan Elder, who can mix in some takedowns, who throws a lot of volume, who's defensively pretty sound, I just think Gage Young struggles with the guy like that right off the bat in your debut. I mean, look at Evan Elder went in there against Nazim Sajikov. He lost the fight because of a cut in the third round, but he was winning that fight. He was winning every minute of that fight. And, the unfortunate cut happens. Goes in there against Genaro Valdez, wins an easy decision. Darius Flowers submits him in round 2 very easily. And now he's getting Gage Young, another guy who's just kind of entry level, getting his feet wet. This should be an ass kicking for Evan Elder on paper. It's just Gage Young is so tough, and he does hit hard, and he's going to keep hanging around in these fights, and could make it somewhat closer through the first 1.5 rounds, but shorter notice. He was training for a fight, but not a UFC fight. Got to keep that in mind. Evan Elder is minus 190. I'm going to take it, honestly. I just think he's more talented everywhere. I think he should be close to that minus 225, minus 250 range. Maybe he gets there by the end of the week, but minus 190 on Evan Elder, I'm going to take a shot on it. I think that's about the lowest you're going to see that price go. And if it goes up, we got it at a good price, I'll live with it. If he loses and we got a good price, I'll live with it. But I just think he's a little more talented everywhere. I think he's hungry. You look at his Instagram, this dude just does nothing but train his ass off at the PI. He lives, sleeps, eats, breathes fighting. I've talked to him on IG a few times. He's super locked in and excited to fight in Kansas City. So, yeah, Evan Elder's the pick. Evan Elder is the play. Got it at minus 190. Told myself if he was under minus 200, I was going to play it. He is. Got to live by what I preach. So that's the play, man. That is the play. All right, let me get back to the homepage. And the next fight, Jimmy the Brick Flick, Matt Schnell. This is a wild line to me. I mean, you look at Matt Schnell, who's currently minus 250. I'll come out and say it. I don't think Schnell should be minus 250 over anybody. Just based off of his track record in the last 2 to 3 years. He retired after his last loss, which was against, Steve Erceg, where he just got completely, sorry. He loses by knockout to Steve Erceg, and then he fights Cody Durden, 6 months later, and he loses by round 2 guillotine, and then retires after that fight, and all of a sudden he's back, less than a year later, just 8-9 months later. So, it's interesting to me. I don't know if he's coming back for one last paycheck, fighting out his contract, whatever the hell it may be. But, he's getting a guy in Jimmy Flick who's kind of in the same boat. He retired once before. Now he's back. He came back into the UFC and, lost a couple, but against high-level guys. He lost to Charles Johnson and Alessandro Costa. Both those guys are, fighting towards the top 15, top 10. And then he beats Malcolm Gordon, submits him in round 2. Malcolm Gordon is a phenomenal grappler. Jimmy Flick was able to go out there and submit him. Pretty impressive. But then, what I thought was somewhat impressive was this fight against Nate Maness. Nate Maness is, scheduled to absolutely knock him out in that fight. I think his knockout line was like minus 150, minus 175. Couldn't knock out Jimmy Flick. Jimmy Flick showed some really good moments in the fight. Got some takedowns, had him in a couple of Von Flue attempts, other submission attempts, and, Nate Maness was sweating there for a couple of minutes. If you can do that to Nate Maness, I think you can get Matt Schnell in these positions, if I'm being honest. Matt Schnell has this thing where he doesn't really try to work out of these submission attempts. He just taps his ass off. Like, he is uncomfortable. He's not even going to try to get out of it. He's tapping. We saw it against Cody Durden when he locked up that modified guillotine where he was just double hand tapping. Get me out of here, please. Finish by Matt Schnell. Finished by Mateusz Nicolau. Okay. Was almost finished against Zumuderji and then came back after Maderji took a big shot and gassed. Submitted by Brandon Royval. He's been submitted quite a few times. He's been knocked out quite a few times. Like, the guy is not the most durable. The guy was just retired and now he's back. I'm not convinced he's 100% in the game. Like, I'm not really convinced he's coming out here 100% healthy, 100% in it. And if that's the case, like, Jimmy Flick is going to have opportunities to finish this fight. Schnell will too. Jimmy Flick notoriously doesn't have the best chin, but Jimmy Flick has 15 submissions out of his 17 wins. Like, the guy is very, very good on the ground. Doesn't get enough credit for being that good on the ground. And he's plus 200. So I'm going to take him. I'm going to take the dog. We'll take a plus 200 right here. Am I expecting to win this? I think Matt Schnell is the better fighter for sure, but I think this line is off at this stage in both their careers. I think this should be a Matt Schnell minus 170, minus 175, and he's minus 250, and you're giving me Jimmy Flick at plus 200. I'll take it. I think the Brick Flick gives himself some opportunities to win this fight. If he doesn't, the guy's going to go out trying. Maybe he gets sparked in the first round. But this is more of a value play. I'm playing the number here. Plus 207. Give me Jimmy Flick. Let's go. You might clown me before the fight for taking that pick, but watch on fight night. He's at least going to give himself one or two shots to finish this fight. He always does. Doesn't matter who he's fighting. He always does. All right, next fight up. Ikram Aliskerov, Andre Muniz. This one is not that tough to kind of predict what's going to happen or who's going to win. Aliskerov is coming off of losing to Robert Whittaker. Okay, Robert Whittaker. Shit happens when you fight at the top of the division like that after only having, 2 UFC fights. Comes in against Phil Haas, knockout against Warley Alves. Both those very, very early in the first round. The guy is dangerous as they come on the feet. He'll hit you with flying knees. He's got power in the hands, kicks, and if he gets you on the ground, he's very, very talented there as well. Losing to Robert Whittaker isn't anything to hang your head out. I actually think that's a fight that makes you better eventually. Kind of humbled him a little bit. I think he's probably went back to the drawing board. What's he need to improve on? Fight a little more composed. I think it's all going to help him in the long run. And now you're getting Andre Muniz, who got finished by Paul Craig on the ground by strikes. Muniz used to be just an absolute savage, and maybe he's still got it in him. But, when he came into the UFC, he had 2 wins on the Contender Series, and then he gets 5 fights in the UFC where he wins all of them. 3 of those come by submission. And then he loses to Brendan Allen. That's a high-level guy, loses by submission. TKO to Paul Craig. And then he beats Jung Young Park, which a lot of people thought was a little bit of a robbery because all Muniz did was land takedowns, didn't really do much with him. Park outstruck him even with 11 takedowns against him. So it is what it is. Is Muniz going to go out there and take down Ikram Aliskerov and control him for 3 rounds? No. Is he going to be in danger of getting submitted himself if he does that? Probably so. And if he gets reversed and ends up on bottom, I don't think he's going to armbar or triangle Ikram Aliskerov, but I do think Aliskerov will be landing ground and pound, will be absolutely mauling him from the top position. He's going to be stronger, I believe. Muniz getting a little bit older. So, yeah, what I'm looking at here, fight to not go the distance is minus 600. That's super chalked. Let's see what we got as far as... Okay, Ikram Aliskerov in round 1 is plus 115, not a good price. Oh, let's see what just the regular props are. Okay. Aliskerov decision plus 600. Aliskerov TKO knockout minus 175. Aliskerov submission plus 400. There's not really anything greatly priced in this fight that I see reasonable. Decision, I really don't see Muniz hanging with Ikram anywhere without putting himself in danger. So plus 600 on the decision prop. I'd want like plus 800 to 1,000. Ikram's submission is interesting. It's plus 400. But again, Muniz is good enough with his jiu-jitsu. I think he can survive and kind of frustrate Ikram to where Ikram's like, screw this, I'm just going to start teeing off. So, yeah, I'm going to give out, well, I don't know. Like I said, there's not many greatly priced props on this fight. So I'll go with, we'll just take Ikram by knockout or TKO minus 175. I'll take that for the play. But, you know, if you're looking for a parlay piece, I don't even like fight not go the distance at minus 600. Like, it just doesn't really add value to your play at all. Here's what we'll do. Screw that. Not the TKO or DQ. I'm going to take Ikram in round 1 plus 115. We'll take that for 2 units to win 2.3. And then, all right, we'll take that for 2 units to win 2 and whatever. And then, hold on one second. All right, 2 units to win 2.3. And we'll also take round 2, which is plus 315 or so. And round 2 is plus 300. And we'll just hedge with that for 40. For a half unit. So either way, we make money. But if round 1 hits, we're going to win, 1.75 units ish. And if round 2 hits, we'll win a half unit. So either way, there's some money there. It's plus money. On a fight like this, if you're getting plus money and you're hitting it, you're probably happy. There's just not really much to do with any of these lines. So yeah, we'll take round 1 plus 115 and round 2 at plus 300. Manage your money wisely on this fight to where you're going to make profit if either one hit. Round 2 will be more of a hedge at plus 300, and we hope round 1 hits, and we're going to walk away with over 1.5 units. So that's how we're going to play it. Round 1, round 2, Ikram, Aliskerov, getting plus money on both of them. We just need to hit one. Sounds good. I just don't really see Muniz hanging with him anywhere for more than 2 rounds. I think he's going to eat big shots when the fight starts. And it could end right away if I'm being honest. And if he doesn't, I think Aliskerov can just kind of wear him down. If Muniz wants to go out there and try to wrestle, he's going to eat damage. He's going to eat elbows to the side of the head, knees, all of that stuff. And it's eventually going to wear him down to where he just kind of folds. And, if he can't get takedowns, they just get stuffed. Or Aliskerov lands on top, he's just going to punch him into oblivion. So, yeah, round 1, round 2. All right, Randy Brown taking on Nicholas Dalby. Man, first look at this fight, I was like, Nicholas Dalby as the dog once again. Super, super intriguing. He's plus 210. It's hard not to take a little bit of a flyer on that, but, Dalby is getting a little bit older. Yes, his cardio is good even at this age. Yes, he should be 5-0 right now. He loses that split decision to Fakhretdinov, which I thought he probably should have won. He did way more damaging blows. But before that, Gabriel Bonfim gassed. Dalby got the finish. Outside of that, man, Dalby's not finishing anybody in the UFC. It's all decisions, split decisions, majority decisions, and then that one TKO to Gabriel Bonfim. Yep, impressive for sure at that age. But, before that, beats Muslim Salikov, beats Warley Alves, Claudio Silva. He's not really beating these super talented guys. Salikov is a super good striker, but not a great gas tank, not great grappling defense. And now he's getting Randy Brown. Nicholas Dalby's getting Randy Brown, a guy who's 6'3", a guy whose cardio has shown to be okay. Striking defense is good. Striking offensively is very good. Takedown defense, 73%. Where's Nicholas Dalby win this fight? Using his cardio and outpacing him? Maybe that's probably his only path to victory. I don't think he's landing takedowns on a long Randy Brown, who's very dangerous with the submission attempts as well. Randy Brown just lost to a surging Brian Battle, who a lot of people thought Randy Brown won that fight, myself included. He outstruck him. He had 2 takedown attempts. All Brian Battle could really do is put him up against the cage, land foot stomps, knees, and Brian Battle was exhausted. Randy Brown was wanting to throw down. So, yeah, I thought that was an impressive, performance from Randy Brown. He did everything he could to win the fight. Before that, beats Easy Dos Santos. beat Muslim Solikov in the first round early with a big right hand. Wellington Turman lost to Jack Dalla Maddalena and a loss to Vicente Luque back in 2020. Nico Price lost. Bilal Muhammad lost. Like, the theme here is this guy's only losing to super, super good fighters who are at the top of the division or on their way there. Now you're getting a 40-year-old-ish Nicholas Dalby. 41-year-old. Is he 41? I believe he's 41 now. I just think Randy Brown's going to be too tricky on the feet. I think Brown's going to beat up the lead leg. I think he's going to jab him to death. He's super, super long. It's hard to close the distance on without eating damage. And I think he's going to win the first 2 rounds. Maybe he drops that third, but I don't think Dalby's dangerous enough to, finish Randy Brown at this stage. I think Randy Brown could actually finish this fight by submission or knockout. So that's kind of an intriguing way to look at this fight. But at the end of the day, man, I'm just taking Randy Brown. This will be a parlay piece for me. Minus 255 for Brown. I think that's kind of what you have to do with this fight. Plus 210 on Nicholas Dalby. I just don't really see it right now. Nicholas Dalby has had some great performances, but against who, right? Not the highest level of competition. I think Randy Brown is actually very good. I think Randy Brown should cruise here. So, yeah, we'll take him for a parlay piece in this fight, and we're just going to rock with it. All right, next fight up, Michel Pereira, Abus Magomedov. I'm actually kind of excited for this fight for a couple of reasons. Michel Pereira, we're going to find out what he's made of, because that last performance was not good. Not just that he couldn't defend takedowns and, Fluffy Hernandez beat him up. Like, Fluffy does that to a lot of people, man. Like, there's no sweat or no skin off your back for getting taken down by Fluffy and beat up in a fight. It was that Michel Pereira was gassed like 3 minutes into the fight. He landed a couple of good body kicks, instantly stopped kicking the body. Gets taken down once, pops back up. His arms are heavy. The guy was arms down fighting, just barely jabbing the rest of the time. That was not a good look for me. You mix that in with the fact that, he's got some shit going on in the old personal life where he got caught taking some girl to a fight that wasn't his wife. He's getting divorced, whatever. His wife's calling him out publicly. That takes a lot of mental energy while you're trying to train for a fight and deal with that. Like, that can't be fun. You look at Pereira's record, and the guy was on a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-fight win streak. Some good, finishes in there. Some of those fights going to a decision. But, going to a decision with Nico Price, Andre Fiallo, Ponzinibbio, these are all guys who, are either older or have been finished pretty badly and brutally, like Andre Fiallo. You can't finish him there. Like, I don't know. He finished Andre Petrosky by round 1 KO, which was impressive. Submits Michael Olazechek, submits Ior Potieria. But those are guys who get submitted and guys who get finished. Now you're fighting Abus Magomedov, who is, people want to call him a fraud after his 2 losses in the UFC, but it's against Sean Strickland, former champion, Caio Bahayo, a guy who's going to be fighting for maybe an interim belt and eventually titles. Like, he will fight for the belt multiple times if he doesn't win one. And then he beats Warley Alvarez, Bruno Ferreira, who's kind of, on a little bit of a hype train right now. So, yeah, I think Abus is going to be a guy who's constantly improving. He's fought in the PFL before. He's fought in high-level mixed martial arts organizations. Now he's, kind of settling into the UFC. He's got 5 fights. He's 3-2. He's shown he can strike. He's kind of a sniper. He's super big. But on the ground, man, he can wrestle a little bit too. And if he gets on top of you, he makes you pay with ground and pound, but he can also find submissions like he showed against Bruno Ferreira. I think that's super dangerous against Michel Pereira because, yes, Abus can be tagged, and we've seen him hurt before. We saw him hurt against Sean Strickland, obviously. He gassed, got finished. Caio Bahayo dropped him. Warley Alves, he just did what he had to do. He smothered him. Bruno Ferreira didn't drop him, but had him on chicken legs in round 2. But, he fought through it. Adversity, got takedowns when he had to when he was hurt, eventually found the sub. So I think that's a good quality, rather than, talking about how he has no chin. He's got to stay safe in the first 3 minutes of this fight against Michel because Michel can crack. But if he does that and mixes in some grappling, even if it's just up against the cage, I think you really start to wear down Michel. Michel's used to being a bigger guy in there. Abus is going to be bigger here. He's going to be longer. He's got great knees in the clinch. If he gets Michel in the clinch and starts landing those knees to the body, I think Michel Pereira's gas tank starts to go down drastically as we enter the second round. And yeah, Abus's cardio is not phenomenal, but I think it's going to be better than Michel Pereira's. I think he's going to have his chances to land big shots on Michel. He just can't get finished early, and he's going to cruise in this fight. I think he mixes in the wrestling. I think he can find submissions. Michel Pereira is submitting guys, but he's not submitting guys that are that good of a grappler like an Abus Magomedov. So I think Abus as an underdog is probably the side here. It's kind of a 50-50 fight for me. And if you're going to get plus 120-ish on Abus Magomedov, I think you take a chance on it and see what happens. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. You got Michel Pereira, who's coming off of the most embarrassing fight of his career and everything he's dealing with in his personal life. You know, it's a tough situation to be in. Abus is intimidating. He's big. He's long. He's a sniper as well. I'm going to take the dog. Give me Abus Magomedov for this fight. It's not a hammer play or anything, but I think he's the side, man. I think there's value on him. Couple of fights left. Co-main event. Anthony Smith, Zhang Mingyang. This is Anthony Smith's retirement fight. He's been pretty clear about that. I think it's a tough fight for him, too, because I don't think he's going to be able to offensively wrestle a Mingyang Zhang who is just stout as can be and is super strong and is going to make you pay if you try to close the distance to do that. He's going to land knees. He throws good kicks, good calf kicks, super, super powerful in the hands. And, Anthony Smith has just kind of shown he eats a lot of shots lately. He's not really wearing them on the chin as good as he used to. He can be knocked out. He can be finished. We saw Dom Reyes do it in his last fight. And I just don't think he's going to be able to offensively wrestle this guy to the point where he's going to be able to look for submissions and find submissions. Like, we've seen Anthony Smith really slow down in round 2 and 3s in some of his fights. Mingyang Zhang doesn't really fight past the first round that often, but he's also not a guy who's out there just exerting unnecessary energy either. He's patient. He looks for big shots. Yes, he'll throw haymakers, but it's very calculated. And again, he has power to where he can knock anybody out when he connects. Kind of see something similar happening here too. I don't really like the KO line. It's at minus 225. What else we got on this fight? I guess this is what makes it tough, man, because there's just not a good. There's just not really a good line out there. I think fight to not go the distance minus 500. You take it as a parlay piece because let's be real, Mingyang Zhang is probably going to knock him out in under 1.5 rounds. But if he doesn't and gasses, like Anthony Smith could drag him down at some point from exhaustion and just find the submission because Anthony Smith is that dangerous. So on the ground, at least. Yeah, let's just call it that. I mean, there's just no real good line if I'm being honest. I mean, you could take Zhang Mingyang at minus 225 knockout as a parlay piece. That's a little more reasonable. I'll give that instead just because minus 500s, I really don't like doing that. So yeah, we'll call Zhang Mingyang KO minus 225 as a parlay piece on this fight. But really, there's not really much value on this fight anywhere else unless you're just taking Anthony Smith on the money line and praying he survives and can pull off some kind of submission. I just don't really see it happening right now. So that'll bring us to the main event. Carlos Prates, Ian Garry. Everybody pumped for this fight. I am too. This is a good one. I actually think that Ian Garry's being a little bit written off here. Maybe not so much on the betting line because he's a slight favorite, but the public sentiment seems to be it's Carlos Prates KO, and I understand why. Like, Prates is shown to be super dangerous, extremely impressive so far in his UFC career, but Ian Garry is a definite step up in competition. I mean, people like almost just forget that Ian Garry went 3-2 or 3-2 against Shavkat Rakhmonov, where Shavkat won 3 rounds, but Ian Garry, was in that fight. Ian Garry outstruck him in that fight, had 2 submission attempts. Like, it all just came round by round. Like, if Ian Garry did a little bit more in round 1 or 2, he wins that fight. Like, he wins that fight convincingly and easily too. So yeah, and before that, beats MVP. Nobody else can really do that because of the striking. He just does what he has to do. His fight IQ is pretty high. Beat Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal is a super dangerous striker. What's he do? Fights him from the outside and outstrikes him 67-46. Like, his fight IQ deserves some respect. It deserves some praise that I don't really think it gets. And another thing he deserves some praise on is taking the toughest fights in the division. Take Shavkat Rakhmonov because he knows if he beats him, he's in the title picture. Like he's looking at a title shot. Okay, he loses to him. Now let's take the most dangerous guy, the guy with the most hype, out of Fighting Nerds, the undefeated camp. The 4 horsemen of that camp are undefeated. Let's take him, a guy who's ranked behind me in the rankings, and put it all on the line against him, because if you beat him, you're like, holy shit, Ian Garry's for real. He just beat Carlos Prates, the undefeated, UFC undefeated killer who everyone's scared to fight and who's knocking out everybody. Like, Ian Garry must see something he likes in this matchup, and his confidence is through the roof, but he's got to be careful early because Carlos Prates obviously can knock anybody out. But at the same time, like, Carlos Prates was getting outstruck. He got doubled up against Trevin Giles before he found that knockout. Against Charlie Radke, that fight didn't last very long, but the strikes were even. Li Jingliang just kind of stood in front of him, no head movement, no nothing, and 8 shots all day long, which Ian Garry's not going to do. And Neil Magny's a dinosaur at this point and can't take the big shots. So this is a complete different story fighting Ian Garry, which is why I'm taking Ian Garry on the money line for this last fight. I think Carlos Prates plus 110 is going to be the most public play of the week, when in reality, like, Ian Garry has the tools to kind of evade. Like, he might get clipped, he might get hit, but I think he survives it. And if he takes Prates' back, he's good with his control. He's probably not going to submit Prates, because I think Prates is probably a lot better on the ground than people are realizing, just because who he trains with and the experience. But I do think Ian Garry is going to be smart enough to know how to win this fight. He's going to stick to a game plan. He's not going to worry about putting on a show for the fans. He's going to dance around the outside, jab, leg kick, and look to put you against the fence at times. And if he does that, he's going to make it very even. And also, my last point about this fight is we don't really know what Carlos Prates' cardio looks like at the UFC level after the second round. Like, let's be real. This dude's talking about, I still smoke 12, 15 cigarettes on fight day. It's going to come back and bite you in the ass at some point, if I'm being honest. I think, at least. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe he's superhuman. We'll see. Kind of seems that way with his punching power. But, Ian Garry is another animal compared to a Neil Magny, Li Jingliang, Charles Radke, Trevin Giles, Mitch Ramirez. So I'm going to take him. Let's go Ian Garry minus 130. That's the play for the main event. And that is the UFC Kansas City card. This show is a bunch of fun. I love giving these plays out. Miami, again, we absolutely crushed that card. We hit so many plays. We hit two underdogs. I think the only 2 underdogs on the card we called out on the show, and then gave out a handful of other winners too. So super popular by demand. I've gotten a bunch of DMs, comments that they love this style of show, so we're going to keep it going. I hope we cash some more plays this week. Again, there are going to be weeks when we don't hit. There's going to be weeks when we damn near sweep and make tons of money. You just got to weather these storms. Don't be chasing. Don't be, betting your whole bankroll on one card. Be smart. Bankroll management is absolutely key if you want to be a successful bettor. If you want to be a bettor who makes money year in, year out, you're going to have to weather the storms. There's going to be times when, us bettors go 4 or 5 weeks in a row of losses, but there's going to be other times when we hit 6, 7 weeks in a row of big wins too. So ebbs and flows, ride the waves. Don't get too down on these losses. Don't get emotional, because that's when you start chasing it and throwing big amounts of money trying to win it all back, and that's when you lose money. That's what the books want you to do, and we got to beat the books. That's the main objective. So appreciate you all being here. Shout out to the sponsor once again, BetUS. If you need a sports book in 49 of the 50 states, BetUS has you covered. The link is going to be down below. The promo code to get your first deposit match to 150% and the next 2 to 125% is also in the bio. If you want to get all of my bets, once again, winnable.com/HOF picks, code Kansas, 5-day free trial. See all of my bets and Hey Jive Picks bets completely free with the free trial. We're absolutely crushing 2025, so make sure to do that. You'll get into our Discord, have direct access to us, talk to us during the fights, all of that good stuff. Again, let's end on some positivity. When I was flying back from Miami, I just had this realization that, I'm super, super blessed to be in the position where I can just make content, bring it to you guys. You guys engage with it. It makes me super happy. Like, screw all the betting money and the content and the brand deals and all that stuff. I've made some lifelong connections doing this shit that are going to mean more to me than any of the amount of money that it brings in, or being able to do this for a living, or any of that. The 2 things that are most important to me in my life are my friends and the connections I make along this life, and my family. And this shit has been able to enhance both of those areas of my life. I've been able to provide better for my family. There was a couple of years ago when me and my wife would have conversations about, how are we going to pay for this? How are we going to pay for school one day for our kids? I remember when my wife was, pregnant with our second son, and what really motivated me to start doing this shit was she said, is it even fair that we're bringing a child into this world not knowing how we're going to provide certain things? And that hit me. And, I was working a job at the time that was paying the bills, but that was about it. I started this content journey, and I grinded my ass off. I stay up from, 10 to 2 a.m. at night, grinding out content every single night, waking up early, going to work, and just repeating that cycle for 2.5 years until this shit started to stick. And I started to, make connections with brands and sports books and all this stuff that have reached out, and all at the end of the day completely changed my life because of positivity and just having this goal in my mind to keep going no matter what. People are counting on me. I'm not going to let anybody down. I'm going to make this shit happen at whatever cost, no matter what. And that mindset has brought things into my life that I'm forever grateful for, and also just completely changed my outlook on life, my determination, all of that shit. So positivity, put it in your mind, no matter what type of shit situation you're in or you're going through or what's going to happen in the future, you can take positivity and a new perspective out of any bad situation. I've done it so many times in my life where, I could be down. I could just throw in the towel, give up, and say, all right, this is what I'm stuck with. But no, I use the motivation, get my ass up and going, make shit happen. It's like Diego Lopez, right? Dream, believe, make shit happen. Like, that's what you got to do. And if you have that mindset, you're going to be a killer, man. Like, don't even worry about anything going on around you. Like, who's doing better than you? Are your friends doing better than you in your life? Fuck all that. Just worry about yourself, make goals, and don't stop till you hit them. It's as simple as that. So that's all I got tonight, boys. I know I just kind of word vomited there, but the last few weeks I've just been thinking, been extremely grateful, and just kind of reflecting on this whole journey I've been on in the last 3 years. And it all comes down to positivity, not getting too down in any bad situation that happens, just trying to find a positive in it, try to find a motivating factor, and run with it. That's all you got to do. So we'll see you guys next week for the next UFC card. Appreciate all of you. Hit the subscribe button. Drop a like. Drop a comment. Let's cash these bets this weekend at UFC Kansas City. Again, I want to be there live, so if you see me, please come say what's up. I'm going to buy every single person a beer. We're going to chop it up, have a good time, cash these bets. Until next time, we will see you guys at the next UFC event.